to get moving.
Kia ora, good morning. Thanks everyone. We're going to do a really quick update on Know Your Pipes. We've hit a bit of a milestone with the project, which I won't steal Matt's thunder, but he'll let you know through the process. But we've hit a bit of a good news milestone, so we're just keen to share. We'll give you a quick update on where we're at.
Yeah.
I'll also introduce Matt Hill, who some of you might recognise, ex-Building Control, Building Assurance, is now in the water team, just covering for Jess while she's on parental leave and doing a great job. So I'll hand you over.
Thank you. Morning, everyone. So I know you've been taken through this before, so I'll keep it brief. The Knowing Your Pipes scheme kicked off in 2021 in an effort to address the wastewater pollution we were seeing around the harbour and Titahi Bay Beach. It primarily concentrates on the private stormwater and wastewater pipes, but by default it also picks up on the public issues with the public network, which is handled through a different process. There's a variety of testing techniques used. If I just go back a slide.
Click on.
That machine there is basically, it's a petrol-powered fan. That's sort of the primary way of testing that sits on a manhole lid and blows smoke into the pipe basically, and you walk around the houses and see if it's coming out where it should be. So how it works is when Wellington Water identify a fault, they notify the property owners. At that stage, they provide the property owners with all the testing sort of detail they have so they can pass on to their chosen tradie. They remind the homeowners of the need to fix, and then if that, in an ideal world, it happens in that setting and it's fixed. If not, on day 90 it comes to us to start enforcement. Bearing in mind these are working days, so it's a long process.
The way to shorten that is that process, because we'd like to.
Yeah, we had legal advice early on that it would probably be unreasonable.
I'll keep my mouth shut.
Just on that, the water services, the new water services bill might actually lengthen it slightly. Yeah, sorry.
Let's just pour more stuff in. Okay, keep going. Yeah, we know this, but...
So we get through the process finally at day 146. I can use the powers of entry under the Local Government Act to enforce a fix. These are the areas that have been tested so far. Green being areas that have been picked up through testing, yellow being proactive testing. So far we've tested 668 properties. That's actually gone up a little bit from last week. 250 minor faults identified. We don't follow up on minor faults, so just trusted that the homeowners will fix them.
But why would you not follow up? I'm sorry, because then they can become a major fault. That just seems stupid. Sorry, no offence.
No, you're right. They are so the measurement, it's very conservative. So a minor fault is like a crack in a pipe or very minor root intrusion. So probably just about every home of a certain age would have a minor fault, if you like. So they apply a very conservative lens to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been reminded we are live streaming. I do apologise.
126 major faults that have been followed up on, and of those, 14 are still outstanding. This is where we come to our little milestone. We've got 2 overdue private cases that contractors are engaged, so currently no enforcement planned. Yeah.
That's good work.
So what's up next? More of the same, really. So proactive monitoring in South Beach, Onipoto, Semple Street and Kinaparu, and I ingress and infiltration.
Yeah, it's
Oh, right, thank you.
it's all right. You picked it up before Mike. Yeah.
And back out to Whitby for cross-connection checks.
Jeff.
I know that you're getting, pretty much to the end of this presentation, so I want to go back one slide. The major faults. Could you just describe the nature of what those faults are? Because you did well to kind of explain what are minor. So one needs to suggest, well, what the hell's major?
Yeah, cool. So a major fault the worst is a cross connection where wastewater is going straight into the stormwater. So you get untreated waste going into the...
A cowboy special,
Yep.
we know.
Yeah, that's right.
But
And-
still, 146 days to fix. I can't see legally how a lawyer or whoever can say that is correct.
We can go back and double check. but-
Could you? Because
Yeah,
146 days of something like that going down
Yeah.
is it's going to the harbour, for God's sake.
It's 146 working days as well.
Yes, it is illegal. Sorry, Jeff, to interrupt you. Keep going.
So it's 146 working.
Yeah. Jeff's onto it.
But furthermore to that, is there some way of being able to, as part of being transparent on the efficacy of this program, to give in our commentary to the public the nature of those 14 major breaks and the where they are in the process? Are they, so I don't expect you to do that right now, but I think in terms of just being proactive, where those 14 are, where possible, without giving away the privacy of individuals.
Yeah.
How many are in that latter category of we're getting close to the day 146 and those others that are being found early? Because this is going to constantly change as you do your investigations throughout the entirety of the program moving forward. Is there some way we can work better on that?
Yeah, I think we can probably look at how we would dashboard this and provide some more proactive, maybe monthly reporting. We do have to be quite careful with privacy information.
Yep.
And in many cases, the homeowners are genuinely doing their best, and it's not because of anything underlying. And as you can imagine, there's a relationship there that we need to manage to try and get the right outcome as well. So it's a bit of a dance.
Yep.
And we'd want to be quite careful around how we do that, so we don't just...
It's not about name and shame so much as it is about trying to remind people that we are trying to be part of the solution with homeowners as well.
Yeah,
Or even street names would be enough, surely.
I wouldn't even go down to streets. I just talk about the number of households or in those categories. But if you get down to one, then it starts to become, well, we could probably figure it out by process of elimination. I don't think that would be fair to property owners. So that's the point I was trying to make before. Next question. Obviously, this work is still ongoing. And there's a pute that's assigned for it. Are officers able to say that we maintain that that level of commitment, that level of investment to help as part of the range of measures around trying to reduce I&I and the potential risks with regards to wet river discharges? Can we say that at least we're still moving on that trajectory?
We're just about to sit down with Wellington Water next week and work through the detailed plan for the forthcoming year. So absolutely keen to keep going. We've realised that by stepping into new suburbs where you might imagine things are all good, we've found that they haven't been all good. So we are quite keen to keep going. We just need to work with providers to keep the momentum up and make sure that there's an active plan that we can follow through on our side.
And in terms of the matrix of assigning where those locations for investigation are, as the map showed earlier, there are certain categories that are triggered. Is that matrix fit for purpose, or is there still communities or mesh blocks or whatever size areas that you're talking about that still show up on the radar as places that are needing further investigation?
Yeah, that's something else we'll be covering off with Wellington Water next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No more questions. Kia ora.
Gosh,
Cheers, thank you. Yeah, so along a similar line, I'm keen to understand what our bang for buck is looking like on this. So there's a whole bunch of different areas that we're investing in around water at the moment, stopping leaks, all those sorts of things. If you look at the cost of the program, how much we've put into this so far and how much we've actually managed to deliver in terms of what we're fixing, do you consider that we are getting a good return currently?
Great question. We can you help me out there?
first time in front of us, Matt, relax.
I can't give you absolute numbers at the moment. To be frank, we've struggled to get some exact financial data out of Wellington Water, and we've been asking for that for quite some time. My gut feeling is we're absolutely getting bang for buck. And in terms of number of faults found and the progress made to resolve those faults, and knowing that that does equal significantly less waste in the harbour, I'm quite confident that we're making good progress. And in terms of millions spent on I&I and new pipes and all that kind of things, I think we're making some pretty big wins. Some of these are quite hard fought. There's a lot of time goes into resolving them, so potentially the time may not be bang for buck, but again, I'm comfortable we've got the balance right between the three things, and again, we'll continue to work with Wellington Water to get the kind of formal hard numbers to be able to compute number of major faults found back against costs to uncover the fault and then resolve the fault.
So in terms of the total number of major faults that we found, do we know whether or not that number is more, less, or about the level of what we were anticipating?
I would say that's probably a bit more. And we have been taken by surprise, particularly in some of the newer suburbs, where we've found some matters that we were absolutely not expecting. And as a result of some of those initial investigations, we switched the program to focus on those suburbs to make sure that we didn't have a bigger problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Given that, do you consider that, do you think that there's potentially scope here for more investment delivering proportional returns? So I guess what I'm trying to figure out here is this something that if we were to say, hey, this has been relatively successful and we wanted to invest more in it, we would continue to get a level of returns proportionate to what we're putting in? Or do you think there's a diminishing returns level where if we just threw money at it, we actually wouldn't get that much more out of it?
Yeah, I do think they are diminishing returns, but because of the age of our pipe network, it only takes one earthquake, for example, to give everything a bit of a rattle up, and we might end up with a new kind of incursion of wastewater that we didn't previously have. So it's something that we will need to continually keep on top of. But assuming that the network continues to improve over time, we continue to get on top of we've already got on top of the worst, the returns are diminishing. It's probably a step. If you can imagine a downwards diminishing curve with the odd flatline step in it,
Yeah.
that might be caused by an earthquake breaking a pipe or a big stormwater event or something that causes a bit of movement in the network.
Okay, thank you. And then my last question for now is, do we know how many of the leaks are actually repaired, or major faults, are actually repaired before we hit that deadline where council is able to step in?
The majority.
The majority, yeah?
Yeah, the majority. I don't have the exact numbers, but I'd say 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we're able to get those exact numbers at some point, that would be very helpful. Yeah. Thank you very much.
So a year ago, we had 15 that were beyond the end of the period, and staff were actively engaged in working on those 15. We're now down to 0.
Nathan?
Yeah, long term, looking at this, where's this sit with Metro Water in 2026?
That's a good question too. I think using the Harbour Accord, we'll be working quite hard to advocate for this process continuing. We certainly hear noises from Wellington Water staff that they're really keen on what we do in Porirua and would really like to see the other cities that are shareholders in Wellington Water doing similar work or doing more of similar work. So it would be a case of Porirua City advocating, and we could absolutely use the Harbour Accord as the kind of coat hanger for that process. Statement of expectations, if you want to get really formal.
Can I also add something in there? So the stormwater consent, the global stormwater consent that we will be held to account on more and more in the long term, and is also hard to quantify in terms of the value. You know, there's fines and penalties associated with discharging stormwater through that consent that we haven't that also adds value to understanding and knowing and fixing the stormwater network. And the stormwater network is it's still a tricky network to equate within the entity and then within the city itself. So I think there's a lot of value to add in improving the stormwater discharge as much as we can from a global discharge perspective, and accountability on us for that through the resource consent process, as much as just what we're seeing in dollars and cents around what we're finding. I think there's a big part to play in this picture as well. Thank you.
Izzy?
I feel like my question is on a similar vein to what has been asked already, but just in terms of trying to balance bang for buck as well as the health of our harbour, what did I write down? I mean, you've got the financial stuff. Is there data that shows that we are improving the health of our harbour as a result of this? I know there are other things that we're doing as well surrounding it. Just,
Julian might be a better place to answer that one with
Yeah,
his harbour hat on.
Yep, thank you. There's a whole lot of testing we're doing. We can't narrow down this particular program, but I think, again, with the Harbour Accord powering up, we're going to be in a position where in the future we can identify the improvements in the health. And just back onto the Harbour Accord, this program is one of our actions that we are pushing forward and one of our priorities as a group. So the 5 entities is definitely looking at this for the future.
Mike?
Yeah, when you do this investigation, through my property up in Titahi Bay, we have a major sewer line runs through the backs of all the properties, and there's some enormous Porirua trees growing there at the moment, and I'm sure they're not just being fed yet. The damage they must be doing must be horrendous. Do you check all that as well, the major sewer lines and things?
Yeah,
On private property?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, by default. So when the testing of the private is done, if there's any leak out of the mains, they'll find that as well.
Okay. Oh, good news.
Yeah.
Kathleen?
Of those 126 faults that have been identified and followed up, are they all remediated, or apart from the 14?
That's right. Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Do you have numbers on the minor faults or property owner ones that have been remediated as well?
No.
No, they said they don't follow up on them.
No.
Oh, at all?
No,
at all?
no. So it's an initial letter to the homeowner.
I asked that question.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
so we don't know whether they've been done
No,
or
we-
not, just they've been notified. Okay.
Ross?
Oh, sorry, did I hear you say with the new areas, the majority of the faults are cross connections?
That's what we found when we moved into Aotea recently here.
And so like what proportion of total numbers of houses in the area would those cross connections be?
Off the top of my head, it was 4 out of around 200 odd.
And Whitby?
2%?
Yeah.
Can I also just add, we took some valuable learnings from that around how to work with the drain layers, around their diligence on how they're connecting the wastewater and stormwater. So actually, you might want to talk a bit more to that. Actually, that is your...
And yeah, so what did you find?
Yeah. Back when I was a building inspector. No, it's a human error basically. It comes down to two white pipes that look the same coming into a property, and wrong one's connected to the wrong one.
Just as simple as that. And we don't, none of that gets checked ultimately, obviously.
It does.
Or some of it does.
Yeah.
Obviously not all of it, or you made a mistake in the phone.
No, it's checked as much as it can be. Yeah.
And we took responsibility with the drain layer to rectify that quickly. So there was a lot of learnings from that, which we've applied into future checks to make sure that our inspectors are actually just doing their checks and balances a bit more diligently. And that drain layer also owned and learnt the mistake that they made. So we just got on and fixed that.
Can you change the colour of the pipe so that you haven't got two white ones?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can.
Yeah.
Jeff.
I love that part. Sorry, I have to ask questions again, but it was just to
That's
follow up.
fine.
It was just to follow up some points that come up earlier. At the risk of derailing the corridor, just with regards to that global stormwater consent, the current status of that is that it isn't proceeding ahead because that's a Greater Wellington Regional Council decision, right? Okay, so let's get that on the record. Secondly, in terms of stormwater liability, would it sit with Metro Water once they are established, or does it sit with the council with regards to the breaches? I'm assuming it sits with Metro Water and not with the councils because the assets, including stormwater, are being transferred over there. It's not a two water system. We keep one. It's the whole shebang.
Yeah, that's correct. As you know, because we've raised it with you, the stormwater stuff is complicated.
Yeah.
And in the establishment team that Dougal's looking after, there is a stormwater task force team being set up to work through some of those complications. The transfer of water and wastewater is pretty straightforward. Stormwater is much more complicated. Council will probably have skin in the game. To some extent, we've got parks, we've got roads that have got critical stormwater assets on them. The exact detail of how it's going to land is still to be worked through. But at a high level, stormwater's going across. Yeah.
And notwithstanding the fact that the other examples you use, like parks and so forth, that would sit underneath our owned properties in the same way that if it was sitting underneath a private property owner, it would be their part of their private network and their responsibility in the same. That's not an unreasonable assumption to make in that regard.
That's not an unreasonable assumption, but whether or not we land that detail, and bearing in mind we've got 5 councils to pull into that discussion and we all are a little bit different, TBC.
And understanding that because we have so much uncertainty both by central government and Greater Wellington Regional Council with regards to the global stormwater consent, I'm assuming that that next point, which is that every effort we make right now improves the ability of us to not only get ahead of work that will be necessary to be compliant, but also demonstrates the benefit and the applicability of that consent in the first place.
That's right. The point I was making is that no matter whether it sits with an entity, ultimately there's going to be more accountability for the standard of water that comes out of all the activities in the city into our harbour.
Yeah, and likewise the Harbour Accord also is a backstop on that as well. With regards to the dashboarding, you've heard a few pieces of feedback that I think probably also incorporates that in. And I know that in previous report backs to the council on the Know Your Pipes project, we have had some data, albeit it is challenging, I agree, to try and give a correlation between improvements at water quality at one location and its connection to an inspection several hundred metres away. But I think that dashboard should have that information in there. And I think that, again, because of our importance of this work in the Accord, we probably do need to have some priority in terms of how we articulate that kind of information. Also, with regards to that, it would, in my view, create a feedback loop as well. I think you did answer this question I'm about to ask with Councillor Trin's line of questioning, but pipes will degrade over time. Some minor issues will become major issues. There may be earthquakes or tsunamis or storms or whatever where the damage may be demonstrably worse. Do we have a system in place of wanting to go back and check that we haven't missed anything new, noting that if we go back to that location, we are taking the risk that there will be ever decreasing results, but we cannot presume that snapshot in time is what is actually what's going on in a year's time, 5 years' time, 10 years' time.
In terms of water quality, specifically?
Or just in terms of the project itself, in terms of checking the private network that the Know Your Pipes project is focusing on, to go back to those other areas. Like I can think, for instance, the area around the South Beach outflow, which was a particular area that was marked red on the map, for goodness sake. Maybe there's an argument that says we should go back there again and check to make sure that we haven't missed anything, because again, a snapshot in time is a snapshot in time. How do we make that into a decision-making approach that's reasonable for you guys to operate under?
Those are all really good points. We are quite reliant on the water quality data to trigger the kind of initial request or the initial complaint around water quality. And we know that we started with that Onipoto South Beach section because of the known issue coming out of the pipe at South Beach. At the moment, there isn't a kind of loop back process in place. I would say that's mostly because we're still kind of in train with the main project and haven't really got the capacity to be able to do the loop back. However, anytime there's a complaint that comes up, anytime there's something that triggers a question, there would always be a follow-up. So,
Yeah. Look, I appreciate the response. Just one comment and then I'll leave it there. Obviously, this project started in 2021. That was an area that was basically the start of this process. It's been 4 years, so again, the snapshot in time of then may not necessarily represent what's going on right now. So I think it may be something that, again, briefly having that conversation with Wellington Water or Metro Water or whatever it's going to be bloody well called, is an opportunity to say, look, how do we, create, as part of our decision-making process, what a feedback loop looks like for those priority areas where we have known that there was a big issue in those locations in the past.
yeah. We do know that the wastewater treatment plant water sampling occurring at Tatahi Beach will pick up some of those issues.
Yeah.
And again, it could be difficult to work out exactly what the source is, but with the regular and routine maintenance, water quality monitoring at Tatahi Bay, we will pick up issues specifically in that location. But yeah, absolutely take your point in terms of how we get a much more robust process around one equaling two.
You guys are doing great. Thank you.
Kylie.
Thanks. Sorry, I'm still struggling with how a drain layer doesn't know the difference between drains, but human error, all good. There should be a prerequisite for something like that. But anyway, what's the timeline when you're into the next suburb? So I know that we've been focusing on Titahi Bay. When will we be going into other areas, and in specific, what areas in specifically?
That's something we're going to be talking to Wellington Water about next week, about their forward work program. I don't have an answer for you.
You brought us to the map. What for?
Oh,
Because you were asking about areas.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't have my glasses on, so can you be a bit more?
So we're currently quite active in Aotea and starting to move into some chunks of Whitby. We have roughly to date started into Tatahi Bay and worked, anti-clockwise towards the north, around the harbour and then towards the north. And as Matt said, sitting down with Wellington Water next week to get the suburb by suburb plan for the coming year.
Mike.
I haven't finished.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. One last question. With what you're finding at the moment in places like newer areas like Aotea and things like that, are those homeowners taking responsibility for that, or is that something that the council is covering in regards to cost?
We work very hard to work with the homeowners, and in most cases, like 98%, the homeowners come through. Yep. We do have an funding assistance package associated with this task, so there are opportunities for homeowners to put a payment plan in place, and Matt signed a couple of those up in the last couple of weeks, so it is actively being used. And as I said, in most cases, like almost all, we're down to single digits. The homeowners are excellent to work with. It's often just a case of explaining, what is this letter, what does it mean, are you sure that's my pipe and not somebody else's pipe? And by the time you sit down and work one-to-one through with the customers, in most cases we end up with a really good outcome.
That's great to know, thank you.
Mike.
Yeah, at the start of this, back in 2021, whenever, a lot of the ionide down around the beach area in the bay was found to be caused by existing septic tank connections or changeovers from batches, etc. Is that all resolved now around that area?
I believe it is, yeah, mostly. Yep.
Good effort.
Izzy.
Okay, so the area you started in initially is Altea, is that correct? And then
No, we started into Tahi Bay.
Tahi Bay.
Yep,
okay.
because of that known issue at South
That's right.
Beach.
And
Yep.
then talk me through where you went to next.
So loosely over the last 18 months, 2.5 years, it's those other suburbs into Tahi Bay, right at the top there.
Yeah.
Then moving around into the CBD, and then Aotea started probably 6 months ago, 6 or 8 months ago, and then those little pockets heading around into Pawataha Nui Ama just starting to be worked on.
Oh, okay. So I just wondered. So Altea is relatively new. Is there? So are you? Yeah, sorry, it's very new. So have you purposefully avoided the older parts of Porirua in terms of like I'm thinking the east. Was that by design?
Usually the trigger is an outlet in the harbour that comes back with a really bad E. coli reading.
Yeah.
So they get a really bad E. coli reading come through from harbour sampling, and then they will follow that up the pipe
path.
network to find it. So that is, in most cases, the trigger, or there'll be a complaint around a smelly stormwater or something that is causing someone to go, that doesn't feel right. The other thing with Eastern Porirua is we know that we've had issues with the bottomly pipe main leaking and overflowing in almost every stormwater event. So I think there's been a realisation that let's get that pipe resolved first, and then we can double back and know that we're being bang for buck around resolving Eastern Porirua issues.
Okay,
because
so
almost every time it rains, that pipe would cause an overflow into the harbour a year or so ago. Not now, but a year or so ago.
Yeah, I just wonder around Hohepa Six-Pack that lives maybe in IP Creers or any of those streets that might have a leak outside their home and they've complained about it, and then maybe it doesn't get looked at or doesn't be considered for this particular program.
It should be.
Sorry, not Kala.
No, yeah.
Previously known as Matahaura.
So remember, there is, as part of that Eastern Porirua project, though, there is a lot of upgrading of pipes within those development areas. So there was a deliberate choice made, not just because of the bottomly part, but because of that upgrade, that we would be perhaps chasing our tail in that area until we'd sort of settled that down.
Okay, cool. Yep. Thanks.
Ross, and anything that's still popping up that you hear about, just tell us and we can follow up. So, yeah.
There's a few manholes, but popping up. It's all right.
Very good.
Just a joke, in-house. Altea, the sampling would have been done at the harbour. Whereabouts would that sampling? It just surprised me that it concentrated on Altea. I just wondered exactly where that sampling was taking place. Is it the couple of little lagoons down at the back of Altea where the bike path runs? Is it Altea Lagoon?
I'm not 100% on that. It was a proactive testing regime there, so it may have been just from the infrastructure itself.
Right, okay.
Kathleen? Can you just clarify what the different surveys mean? Like what's a proactive survey versus a sanitary one?
Yeah, so the sanitary surveys have come from testing sites.
And what are the proactive?
So the proactive, they're either too far from the sampling sites, so they'd be diluted by the time I got to the sampling site. So they've gone into those areas purposefully.
So
That makes sense.
So what did you say? The sanitary ones were ones that they're just targeting and doing testing through the manhole.
So the sanitary surveys will be from an outlet or from a sampling point.
Yep.
They can directly go up the network from there. The proactive surveys is where they're too far from a sampling point, so they'd either be diluted to a point where the testing might not be entirely useful.
And Altea's in the proactive one.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, but it would have, did I hear you say that you got it from the harbour outlet?
That might have been me putting you wrong with Aotea. The green ones have come from a harbour sampling site where there's been high levels of E. coli found near an outlet in the harbour. And then the team go, logically, that sample high E. coli score is caused by water coming down the pipe. So we will orienteer our way up the pipe until we find, sampling all the way at every junction until we find the source of that.
And that's the proactive, what you're talking about?
No, that's the sanitary surveys one.
Oh, sorry, when you go up through the pipes to see where it is?
Yeah, so it's the same methodology that they just work their way upstream and test all the way to work out whether or not it's dirty on the left-hand side or the right-hand side of the inlet, and then they follow up the dirty side. The green survey sites would have been triggered by a poor high E. coli reading in the harbour that's then caused the team to follow up, whereas the yellow sites, the proactive sites, may have been would have been triggered by something else other than a poor E. coli reading in the harbour.
So
the team going, we've got a hunch about something going on here, we're going to jump in here and have a look at it.
Okay, so they've just decided based on maybe someone said there was a smell or they've reported it.
So the survey methodology is the same, it's just the trigger point to start the investigation is different.
Have you done Takapua here? I can't really see the map from
No, it looks like they've done the edge of Takapua here on that map.
Have you finished? Because we interrupted you right in the very beginning. That's it. Any more questions before we say thank you very much? Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it. That was our last workshop for this council. So we will... no. We will say our karakia before we sign off. So thank you very much.
Okay.
Yep.
As we do our final workshop for the year, everyone, let us complete our karakia whakamutunga. Toru wha, te horo te marino, kia whakapapa paunamu te moana. He huarahi mā tātou e te rangi nei. Aroha atu, aroha mai. Tātou ia tātou katoa. Hui e, tae ki e. Let's go, Mets.
Thank you very much. 11:27. Closed.